Rules Committee, Kayla Hamilton's death was a senseless tragedy, and my heart goes out to her family and loved ones. And I understand the impulse to do something, anything, to try to prevent something like this from ever happening again. But responsible governance means working together to create sensible solutions, not weaponizing tragedies to push through political priorities. Under the guise of so-called preventing child trafficking, this bill would subject unaccompanied kids to abusive practices like invasive body searches and make it harder to release them from detention in spite of the protections that Congress established in the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008. That was a bill that passed both chambers by unanimous consent. I do wish we were working on real reforms that are needed, especially as Trump has set aside long-standing protections for unaccompanied children. Right now, these kids are spending more time in government custody than ever amidst Trump's campaign of mass kidnappings and disappearances. This bill, unfortunately, does not fix anything. Instead, it doubles down on cruelty, subjecting children to strip searches to look for, quote, gang tattoos, and would force them into prison-like secure facilities if they're deemed to have a gang tattoo or be involved in a gang. Unfortunately, we've seen what this administration considers to be, quote, gang tattoos. They sent Jersey Reyes Barrios, a professional soccer player who was tortured by the Maduro regime, to the notorious Salvadorian gulag, CICOT, saying that his tattoo of the Real Madrid soccer logo meant that he was Tren de Aragua. The administration claimed Neri Jose Alvarado Borges, a baker and an asylum seeker, was a member of Tren de Aragua due to his tattoo honoring someone with autism, and disappeared him to CICOT also without any due process. This bill also denies kids the ability to be placed with their parents if they are not U.S. citizens or green card holders. Preventing kids from being placed with their relatives will deny them the ability to go to loving homes and force them to languish in government custody for months. This will not help prevent child trafficking. It will help promote family separation. This bill also forces HHS to tell DHS the immigration status of anyone who lives in the home of a kid's sponsor, aiding the administration's efforts to prioritize deporting moms and dads over murderers and deadly criminals. Since President Trump's inauguration, countless stories have emerged about ICE agents arresting parents and conducting intimidating so-called wellness checks as a pretext for taking unaccompanied children and their guardians into custody. This bill is clearly aimed at supporting that project so that ICE can meet Stephen Miller's cruel 3,000 immigration arrests target per day. The Trump administration already treats unaccompanied kids horribly, and this bill would only make things worse. I have observed the kids' docket at immigration court. I went there and sat for several hours, and what I saw would horrify most Americans. Kids as young as 5, one clinging to a stuffed animal, trying to represent themselves in complicated legal proceedings in a language that they struggle to understand. Can you imagine a 5-year-old child who doesn't speak English trying to represent themselves in court, being instructed by a judge that you as a child have the right to call witness and cross-examine the government's witness? Going up against a seasoned ICE trial attorney, a full-grown adult who has gone to law school and challenging what they say about you? It sounds like an absurd nightmare, but it is reality for too many kids. Our system already does a great disservice to these kids, and this bill would make it worse. It's also laughable to claim that the Republican Party is focused on eradicating child trafficking. Under President Trump and Secretary Noem, the agents in Homeland Security investigations who are normally tasked with going after child traffickers have instead been detailed to enforcement and removal operations. So instead of working on targeted takedowns of dangerous criminals, they're patrolling the streets to go after random people they think might be undocumented because they look Latino or they speak Spanish. Homeland Security investigators worked approximately 33% fewer hours on child exploitation cases this year compared to last year. And if we really want to protect kids, we need to address the #1 cause of death, not immigrants, but guns. This week, following the anniversary of the horrific shooting at Sandy Hook, we are mourning the death of innocents at 2 mass shooting events. Here in America, at Brown University, 2 people were murdered, and an entire campus was traumatized, including several students who had previously been in other school shootings. Despite the president and the FBI claiming otherwise, the shooter is still at large. And yet, I don't see any effort to take up the issue of sensible gun reforms. These mass shootings at schools across the country cannot be normalized. We also witnessed a horrific anti-Semitic mass shooting at Australia's Bondi Beach that left 15 people dead, including a Holocaust survivor who died saving his wife. The only reason the death toll wasn't higher there is because Australia banned semi-automatic weapons and the shooters could only fire 1 bullet at a time. Gun violence like this is rare in Australia because it has some of the strongest gun violence protection laws in the world, and still they're talking about taking further action to regulate guns. That's what we should be doing if we care about protecting our kids. I look forward to answering your questions, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Jayapal. I'm going to defer my questions for a moment, and I'll recognize Mr. Norman. Do you have any